Welcome to your slow flow practice. This morning we will start in a child's pose. So allow yourself to arrive there, taking knees nice and wide and sending the arms out lovely and long onto the mat. Maybe you allow yourself to draw down into the mat, allow forehead to meet the mat, and hands can stay nice and active. And just allow yourself to land here. Taking a moment, starting to complete a gentle body scan, starting from the toes and moving the way up the legs into the knees and hips, checking in with your belly and through the back of the spine, in through the back of the rib cage, through the shoulders. Allow the back of the neck to soften and just notice how you're feeling today. Notice how you're doing. And just taking a moment of pause before we start to move about our practice. Allow yourself to find steady inhales, steady exhales. Just bring a little bit of life back to your breath. Allow your hips to sink deeper into your heels. And just setting an intention for today's practice, whatever that may be. And just starting to walk the hands over to the right-hand side of the mat. As you draw the hands to the right-hand side, let the left hand fall on top of the right and keep the sit bones hanging still really heavy. You'll notice the left hip wants to kind of pull towards the right side. Allow that hip to find length through and into the back. Find your breath here for 3. Beautiful. And then walking those hands over to the opposite side. Allow the hands to draw to the left. Left hand lands, right hand lands on top of left. Allow yourself to find breath here. Length through the armpit, in through the back, all the way down into that right glute. Find your breath. Beautiful. And then coming back through center, allow yourself to land there. Press up into your all fours position. So this time as we arrive here in all fours, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. Maybe you tuck the toes under if that feels good for you. If not, just allow the toes to stay untucked. So fingers are going to spread nice and wide, little micro bend through the elbows, and just take a second to pause here. So normally we like to send our gaze all the way forward. See if you can keep length through the top of the head, keep the spine long, and just find a little bit of stillness here. Maybe inviting your eyes to close if that feels good, and just allow yourself to arrive with breath. So before we even start to move any amount, just taking an inhale through the nose, and let the breath drop through the belly. Exhale. 2 more like that. Big inhale through the nose, and exhale. The last one here, big inhale through the nose and exhale. Lovely. Starting to find your cat-cow. So let the tailbone shine towards the ceiling. Let the gaze lift towards the ceiling. And then allow yourself to push the floor away, rounding through the spine, tuck the chin into the chest. Beautiful. Coming back through center. Allow for the belly to drop, gaze to lift, chest to lift, tailbone to lift. And then rounding through the spine, tuck the tail, tuck the chin, allow the crown of the head to hang heavy. And notice as you press the floor away, you get that length through the back of the neck, finding that head a little bit heavier as you round. Belly button is going to head up towards the ceiling. Allow the floor to really push you away. Beautiful. And then as you come back through your neutral spine, allow for a little bit of length. From here, let's start to turn the fingers towards one another. Allow for a nice generous bend through the elbows. Just start to find a little rock and sway from side to side. Taking a moment here, notice how the wrists are doing. Notice how the wrists are feeling. And then maybe you start to rock it forward and back. Pressing into both palms. Allow yourself to land here. A little bit of a wrist stretch. And know that you can always come down on forearms or knuckles if that feels good. Beautiful. And then flipping the palms. So allow the tops of the hands to come onto the mat. Just be mindful here, doing one at a time. Let's go right hand first. Allow that to flip onto the mat. Finding your breath here. And I like to go gentle rock and sway from side to side, and then maybe a rock forward and back. But just be mindful as you come forward and back. Sometimes this can be a little intense on the wrists. And then switching from right side to left side, allowing left hand to plant here. Finding those rocks, starting with forward and back on this side, and then moving from side to side. And my left side is always a little bit tighter than my right side. Beautiful. And then as I come back through center, allowing myself to push the floor away, not hyperextending the elbows, keeping a nice bend, but just allowing myself to push that floor away, activating my shoulders. And then tucking the toes under, starting to find a little bit of circles. So allowing the bum to head back towards the heels, and then taking it forward up and over the wrists in one direction. So allowing myself to draw it back, belly comes in towards the thighs, and then taking it forward. And this doesn't have to be circles, moving in whichever way feels intuitive for you. Beautiful. And then taking those circles in the opposite direction. Awesome. And then coming back through your center line. Again, setting it up, keeping your strong all fours position, starting to reach right arm for the ceiling. So right arm's going to reach for the ceiling, maybe gaze lifts for the ceiling. And then starting to find a little thread the needle. So taking that hand underneath the body, allow that right shoulder to draw down on the floor. Maybe your cheek draws down on the floor. And then left arm can come nice and long. Finding breath here, just allow yourself to slow down. Awesome. Pressing yourself back up and through center. Allow yourself to land once again all fours, and then take left arm up towards the ceiling. Left arm reaches, gaze lifts, and then we bring it underneath the body. Reach the arm lovely and long through that little hole on the right side. Drop left shoulder down, allow left shoulder to rest, and then take right arm lovely and long. Hold here. Find your breath. Awesome. Coming back through center. This time as toes are tucked under, let's start to lift into our first downward facing dog. So tucking the toes, lifting the knees, lifting the hips for the ceiling, pushing the floor away with that hand, let the head hang heavy. As we arrive here, just start to pedal out those feet. So allow the right foot to drop down, or the right heel to drop down, I should say, and then take the left heel down. And just pedaling it out, notice how you're doing, notice how you're feeling. Take a moment to pause here. Awesome. And then start to walk those hands towards the toes. Allow yourself to come towards the back of your mat. And as you arrive in the back of your mat, just honor a forward fold. Allow your head to hang heavy. Maybe you have a huge bend through those knees. Just see how it feels to arrive here. Belly's just falling into the thighs. And then slow and steady, let's stack the spine one vertebrae at a time. Arriving at the back of the mat, we can roll the shoulders down and back. And just arriving here, allow for a big inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Interlace the fingers at the top. Pointer fingers can come long. Allow the shoulders to settle down the back. Feet can stay about hip distance apart if that feels okay for you. And just starting to find a little side bend right and left. So reaching those fingertips over to the side, getting length from that hip flexor all the way up into the armpit, into the fingertips. And then come back through center. Take it to the opposite side. Reach. Awesome. Bringing it back through center, releasing the hands, tucking the chin into the chest, starting to roll down one vertebrae at a time. And just walking yourself out back to your downward facing dog once you arrive, allowing yourself to ground into the mat, maybe allowing for a little bit of stillness before we start to move again. So just check in here. Notice how you're doing. Notice how you're feeling. Awesome. And then start to bring the right leg up towards the ceiling. So right toes can reach for the ceiling. We can start to open up that hip. So open up that right hip, bending at the right knee, flexing and driving through that right heel. Allowing yourself to just open up here in a nice big stretch and then bring it back through center, point the toes. From here, stepping that foot in between the hands. Allow it to arrive there. And maybe you help it up. I know for me, legs and lower half are really tight. And then as we arrive here, just dropping the back knee off. So we're on two separate train tracks with those feet. We're untucking the back toes. From here, we're rooting through that front foot, pulling the belly button in, and I like to get a little squeeze of my bum. And then from here, we stack up one vertebrae at a time, reaching the arms up and overhead, big inhale. Awesome. And then exhale, we can fold over that leg. Beautiful. From here, let's start to walk the hips back. So hips are going to come towards the back of the mat. We're going to start to flex that front foot any amount. And as you arrive here, maybe hands come onto blocks if that feels good. If not, maybe you just reach for the floor. But we want to think about a hinge at the hips instead of a rounding over that leg. We're flexing the front toes. I'm going to reach my arms back in behind, allow the chest to stay open, and do my best to hinge forward, allowing collarbones to sort of reach over the toes. And allow yourself to arrive here. Big inhale through the nose. And exhale. Beautiful. 2 more breaths here. Big inhale. And exhale. Big inhale. And exhale. Last one here. Big inhale. And exhale. Beautiful. Coming back through center, drop that foot off. Frame the front toes with the hands, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. Arriving here, start to bring that right hand to the inside of the right foot and then walking that right foot out towards the right hand side of the mat. From here, we're going to go 45 degrees with those toes, so a little external rotation, and then allow yourself to arrive. From here, drop the back knee and untuck the back toes. Notice how you find length through that left hip flexor. You can kind of start to aim that left hip flexor down and into the mat and just arriving here. Now, if it feels good and you have blocks, maybe coming down on forearms, if that feels right for you. Maybe you're super flexible and you're able to come right down onto the mat. Just finding a place that feels good, finding a place of rest, and just start to focus on your breath. Steady inhales through the nose. And this time on the exhale, can you let the breath out through the teeth, allowing the belly button to plug in towards the spine. And just taking a moment to pause. Beautiful. Coming up high on the hands if you're not already there. Walk that foot back in and then allow yourself to come back through tabletop. Beautiful. Spreading the knees wide, send the bum back to the heels, find your child's pose. Allow the arms to come long. And this time finding thread the needle here. So sending right arm underneath the left armpit. Taking that arm lovely and long. Allow yourself to arrive. Find your breath. Awesome. And then switching sides. Allow right arm to come long. Allow left arm to reach underneath. Maybe you allow your cheek to rest down on the mat. Awesome. Coming back through center. Allow yourself to rock through all fours. Tuck the toes, lift the knees, downward facing dog. Maybe you pedal it out here. Allow yourself to arrive. Notice how your right side maybe feels a little bit different than your left side. And then walking those toes towards the hands, honoring a forward fold at the top of the mat. Beautiful. Finding an inhale, let's find a halfway lift. And then exhale, we fold. Beautiful, root the feet. Let's just rise up, reach up. Nice big energizing inhale. And exhale, we land. Beautiful, and as we land, allow palms to open up wide. Allow gaze to become heavy. Grounding toes, gripping heels, allowing bum to find a little bit of squeeze. And just plug that belly in. Notice how the low abs are doing. Just take a moment to pause here. Find your breath. And although this posture is still on and active, so really thinking about reaching through the fingers, gripping toes, allowing yourself to just land here strong and stable. And then when it feels good, tuck the chin into the chest, starting to roll down to the toes. Beautiful. Land on those hands, step back, downward facing dog. Finding a little bit of stillness, allow the back of the neck to hang really heavy. Push that floor away. And remember, down dog doesn't have to be nice, straight, long legs. You can always have a nice bend, send the belly into the thighs. Do what feels comfortable for you. And then we can start to send the left leg up and back. So left leg heads up and back whenever you're ready. We start to flex that foot, open up that hip, bending at the knee. Allow yourself to arrive there. Find your breath. And then taking length through that leg, stepping up in between those hands. So allow yourself to get there. Beautiful. And then arriving here, we start to bend at the back knee, untuck the back toes, and then find a big inhale. Reach the arms up and overhead. Beautiful. And then use that breath, send the hips back. Now start to send the hips back in behind us. Allow length through the front of this leg. Allow a flex through the left side. And then starting to think about a hinge from the hips. I'm really wobbly on my left side. So just allowing myself to prop myself up with my hands. Maybe you bring both hands down. Maybe you have blocks and you allow the blocks to ground you. And then maybe you're challenging yourself, practicing balance, reaching the arms back and behind, holding here for 3 breaths. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. Inhaling through the nose. And exhale. Last one. Inhale through the nose. And exhale. Drop it off forward. Allow that back knee to lift. Keep coming up high on those back toes. Hands are going to come inside the leg. We're going to walk it out towards the left side of the mat, and we're going to open up those toes 45 degrees, allowing yourself to arrive there. Drop the back knee down, untuck the back toes. Get that nice long stretch through the hip flexor, and start to send the hips down towards the ground. You'll notice that that left knee wants to try and cave in. See if you can push that left knee out wide, and maybe you start to come down any amount, forearms or hands. Find your breath. I'm bringing it back in through your center line. Allow yourself to come to all fours. Send the knees nice and wide. Send the arms long. Find your child's pose. Awesome. And then starting to walk those hands towards the knees, coming up to seated. And maybe you swing those legs around if that feels good for you. And come to seated on your bum. If it feels okay to sit on your heels, please feel free to head right there. And just allow yourself to land, drawing the right ear over to the right shoulder. And just starting to build up here in steps. So seeing how this is doing, seeing how this is feeling, see if you can draw and relax the shoulders down the back. If it feels good, right hand can come to the top of the right head. Allow yourself to land there. Notice how a little gentle pull allows for a little bit more stretch through that left side. From here, maybe left hand binds behind the base of the spine. So you draw that left elbow out a little bit wider. Notice how it sort of feels like you're pulling your shoulders back and behind you, opening up the chest just slightly. Take a second, take a moment to pause. Awesome. And then when it feels good for you, just bringing your gaze into your right armpit. So allowing for a little bit of rotation here. Allow the gaze to fall into the armpit. Awesome. Coming back through center, releasing left arm, releasing right arm, and bringing head back through the center line. Switching to the left side. Left ear drops down and on to the left shoulder. Arriving here, seeing how you're feeling. Notice if one side feels a little bit different than the other. And then left hand can grip on top of the left side. Finding your breath, big inhale. And exhale. Maybe you add on, maybe right side comes to the base of the spine or right hand comes to the base of the spine, pushing that elbow out a little bit wider. And then allow the gaze to flow into the armpit. Take a second there. Catch your breath. Beautiful. Coming back through center, releasing right hand, releasing left, and then bringing it back through the center line. Beautiful. From here, little seated twist. Send those legs out lovely and long. And then right leg can stay long. Left sole of the foot can come to the inside of the right leg, or it can come up and over the right leg. From here, we're going to twist in towards the knee. Allow yourself to find a little rotation through the upper ribs. Maybe you hook that right elbow onto that left knee, and then send gaze over the back shoulder. Maybe you start to drive through the right foot, flexing through that right foot. Awesome, and then coming back through center. Release it down, just switching sides. Left leg comes long, right sole of the foot can come to the inside or the outside of the left leg. And then start to find a little bit of a twist. Hook that elbow, left elbow, right knee, allowing gaze to release back and behind you. Nice twist through the upper ribs. Awesome. Coming back through center, releasing it out, allowing yourself to draw down and onto the mat whenever you're ready. So rolling through the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Release, releasing down. Arriving here on your back, just starting to hug the knees into the chest, allowing the knees to spread a little bit wider, flexing the feet, gripping backs of knees, or starting to reach for outer edges of the feet, finding your happy baby. And as you arrive here, maybe a little rock and sway from side to side. See if you can allow the shoulders to hang a little bit heavier, the knees to hang a little bit heavier in towards the sides of the body. Awesome. And then coming back through the center line, dropping the feet off. Soles of the feet together, knees can come wide like a butterfly, and then allow the hands to fall out wide. And just taking a second, taking a moment to pause, taking a second to end our practice with a little bit of rest. And just allow yourself to stay in rest. I will come up to seated, allowing for steady inhales, steady exhales. If the mind starts to wander, see if it can feel good to come back to the breath. Maybe you count your breath if that feels right. And just taking a moment to pause before we move about our days again. And taking this moment in time to show yourself gratitude for arriving on the mat this morning and allowing your body and mind exactly what it needs. Thank you so much.